Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. That's 2 months of breathing room while you reposition financially. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before you make your next move, go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NF.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too, and we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. And of course, for dessert, I get a giant chocolate chip cookie. I love Capriotti's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Showers and thunderstorms continue throughout the day at times today, and some of them will be a little locally heavy. Could even see some hail out of some of these. We may see a little bit of a lull overnight, but we're still looking at a chance of showers and thunderstorms, especially tomorrow afternoon, and some of those could be severe as well. And there's also a little bit of light flooding going on in spots that have picked up over 2 inches of rain, mainly north of St. Louis. Temperatures will hover in the upper 50s to near 60 degrees today and then go up overnight tonight. In the First Alert Weather Center, I'm KMOV meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday afternoon, April 1st. April Fool's Day is the worst holiday that we have. I think it's dumb. Let me just put that out there. And that will be the last time that I reference April Fool's Day. But welcome to the month of April, and welcome to a very busy Wednesday here on Colombo and Company. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn, and we've got a lot of stories, a lot of news to talk about, and we've got a lot of great company to help us get through all of it this afternoon. We, of course, have the latest news and headlines, and now a lot of opinion coming out of the conflict with Iran as we get ready for the president to speak tonight. So it's a lot of folks speculating and previewing what they think the president's going to say, what they want the president to say, what type of impact his announcement or his address could have on the war and the economy and everything else after he speaks tonight. So we will be carrying this live address from President Trump here on News Talk STL. As always, you don't need to go anywhere but here. Just keep it here immediately following Larry Connors USA this evening at 8 p.m. The president is going to be addressing the nation, and we will be carrying that live here on News Talk STL. So be listening. I know I will be very interested to see what the president has to say tonight. He did earlier today hint at the idea of a ceasefire coming soon and negotiations that he has had in the last 24, 48 hours. So we're going to fill you in on all of those details as we go through the afternoon. Also, some pretty amazing news coming out of the Supreme Court. We talked yesterday with Susie Moore about the birthright citizenship case that started today. Arguments in front of the Supreme Court started today, and President Trump was there in the court. And this is a first for an American president. So pretty amazing stuff. And we've got some news, and definitely if you listened to the conversation that we had yesterday with Susie Moore, and if you missed that, I highly recommend you go check it out on the podcast. If you missed the conversation that we had with Susie Moore yesterday, she said, we were talking about the validity of this case and how the reporting has been so vastly different depending on, what channel you're on, what person is talking. And, I asked her because you can listen to one quote unquote legal expert say the administration has no case here. It's black and white. It's been this way for 100 years. Birthright citizenship, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to change. And then you can 5 minutes later change the channel and listen to another quote unquote legal expert who will say, that there's a lot of nuance and a lot of validity to the administration's case and to the issue of birthright citizenship not being applied the way that we have forever. And as in that conversation with Susie, when I asked her about, what does she think about the validity of this case, she said, we're going to learn a lot about how the justices may be thinking and get some hints about their possible ruling once the case starts and the oral arguments start, because you can learn a lot from the justices' statements and their questions and the way that they're phrasing the questions and things like that. And we definitely got some context from the Supreme Court justices today. And at least initially, what I've read to this point, not necessarily looking good for the president's case. So I'm going to get into that as we go through the afternoon. And then speaking of the president speaking this evening at 8 o'clock, as I mentioned, we're carrying it right here on News Talk STL. We're going to be joined this afternoon by Paul Curtman, our legal expert, who joins us every Monday. He's going to be back with us today at about 2:45, so about 35 minutes from now, Paul will be on the line with us. I asked Paul to come on because, he's our legal expert with, Paul, PR Curtman Investments, but Paul also was a state rep, here in Missouri. So he can, analyze things from a political standpoint. He's a veteran, so he can analyze things from, the military standpoint, and of course, from the standpoint of the markets and the economy. And I thought he'd be a perfect person to sort of preview this speech with, because I'm really interested to see what Paul, the possible impacts that whatever the president says tonight could have, on the economy. Gas prices has been such a big issue. I filled up today. I used the middle, the 89, because I'm fancy like that, and paid $3.99 a gallon. And it's been quite a while since I've paid $4 a gallon. So definitely, something that everybody's feeling right now at the gas pumps. And could whatever the president says today have an impact on that, negatively or positively? What are some of the key words or things that somebody like Paul are going to be really listening for as the president speaks tonight, and the possible impact that could have. So we're going to break all that down and kind of preview the speech with Paul Curtman at about 2:45. So very much looking forward to that. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, it's a Wednesday, and no matter how busy it is out there in politics land and the news world, you can't stop Klose's Cabinet. It happens no matter what, and we are going to open up Klose's Cabinet and have some fun at 3 o'clock this afternoon with our buddy Mark Klose from KC95, all brought to you, of course, by the sponsor of Klose's Cabinet, Weber Chevrolet and Skip Weber. So look forward to having fun with Mark and talking with him in the 3 o'clock hour. And also, we are, speaking of Monday guests on a Wednesday, here in just about 6 minutes from now, we are going to be joined by our big tech AI expert, Mike McClary. I want to talk to him about the speech tonight and, the impact that this is having or could be having in the future on major companies. And, of course, there's always AI news to cover. When we had him on Monday, we ran out of time, and the conversation is never long enough. So Mike has been gracious enough to put in some overtime with us this week, and will be joining us in just a few moments. All right, let's dive into a couple of these things. First, as I mentioned, the president made an extraordinary appearance today at the Supreme Court, an American presidential first. The Supreme Court voiced strong pushback against efforts to restrict who can be called an American, a politically divisive case over automatic citizenship for some children born in the United States to foreign nationals. Trump later issued a Truth Social post saying, quote, "We are the only country in the world stupid enough, stupid in all caps, to allow birthright citizenship." Trump heard a majority of justices taking turns expressing varying levels of skepticism at the administration's claim that citizenship privilege has been historically abused and wrongly granted to those whose mother gave birth while in the country illegally or temporarily. At issue is the executive order the president signed on his first day back in office to redefine birthright citizenship, part of a broader crackdown on immigration that has led to increased deportations and decreased admittance of refugees and asylum seekers at the border. In the first Supreme Court argument appearance by a sitting president, pretty amazing, pretty historical stuff. Most of the bench appeared to agree with the post-Civil War's 14th Amendment and subsequent congressional laws and Supreme Court precedent. All support the idea of making citizens of everyone born in the country regardless of immigration status. Chief Justice Roberts questioned the government's legal position when it came to the 14th Amendment's limited exceptions to citizenship, saying, quote, saying this to the administration, to the lawyers for the administration, quote, "The examples you give to support strike me as very quirky. Children of," and then you expand it to the whole class of illegal aliens who are here in the country. I'm not quite sure how you can get to that big group from such tiny and sort of idiosyncratic examples. So there's a lot of quotes. There's a lot of, there's a lot of transcripts out there from the case today, but they all sound a lot like that. And then, of course, when you get to other justices like Ketanji Brown Jackson, it gets, even more critical than that. And the reason I think that's important, and I wanted to read at least one of those quotes from the transcripts today, is because exactly what Susie talked about yesterday, that you can learn a lot from the questions and the statements, and sometimes they're not quite as as obvious as a lot of the questions and statements were in court today. So I don't know. This is an issue that I've been in, a case that I've been waiting for, like literally since day one, since that executive order was written. And I thought, if nothing else, and I've been saying all along, and brought this up with Susie yesterday as well, that I thought it was definitely an uphill climb, and more likely that the court would avoid changing the way that we have interpreted birthright citizenship, just because, first of all, it's a hallmark of the Justice Roberts Supreme Court to not, make a big change or historic ruling like that with the Constitution involved to begin with. He's kind of avoid the issue if possible. So with that in mind, and just the history and how long this has been, the way that we've done things, all of that makes it a very difficult uphill climb. But I thought at least that there would be, a deep dive into the arguments that the administration is making, and maybe there will be. But after day one here, and after what we heard, at least reported to this point, it's not looking good for the president's side on the birthright citizenship issue. But obviously something that we will continue to keep an eye on in the coming days, and I can't wait to continue to have conversations with folks like Susie Moore, and as we get more details and information to kind of unpack this, and and then start to come up with our expectations of what we think this ruling will ultimately be, which the ruling won't come until, probably a couple months from now. It'll happen before, this session ends, but that's at the end of June. So it could be weeks or maybe even months before we actually get the ruling. But we should have a pretty good idea, I think, really soon. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this and more. All right. As I mentioned, it's a Monday, or it's a Monday on a Wednesday here on Colombo and Company. Paul Curtman will be with us in about 25 minutes. And our big tech AI expert, Mike McClary from Intervine, joins us next on Colombo and Company.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
This holiday season, bring the taste of Italy into your home. At Di Gregorio's, we've been helping St. Louis families celebrate around the table for over 50 years. From imported wines, olive oils, and cheeses to gourmet pastas, sauces, and specialty holiday favorites like panettone and torrone. Our Italian gift baskets make the season easy and unforgettable. You'll find everything you need to make the holidays special. Experience a little bit of Italy right here in St. Louis. Di Gregorio's Italian Market. Visit us at digregoriofoods.com.
Tuesday, April 7th, your community is on the ballot. And before you vote, you need to know what you're voting on.
School board, city council.
News Talk STL has you covered. Log on to newstalkstl.com for our complete voter's guide. See the issues and races on your local ballot. Know the facts. Make your choice.
I think we need some kind of change.
Then get out and vote. Because local elections aren't decided by millions. They're decided by you.
My vote counts.
See the complete voter's guide at newstalkstl.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The U.S. Supreme Court is handing down and hearing huge cases this week. Zach Smith will make it all make sense at 4:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Aruba, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you. Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go? Jamaica off the Florida.
That's what we all need. We all just need to, like, everybody just needs to go to a beach for a few days. That would chill out everybody, right? That would definitely make the world a better place. If we just declared a 1 month beach vacation for the world. And we can play the Beach Boys the whole time. Welcome back to Colombo and Company. This is a serious news show, folks. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn, and joining us on the line, putting in a little bonus time this week, our big tech AI expert, Mike McClary from Intervine, who is with us every Monday, but is here on a Wednesday because there's lots to talk about. Mike, really appreciate overtime this week. Thanks for being here.
I don't mind. I haven't slept in hours, but that's okay.
Neither have I. And what do you think of my beach vacation idea? Just the
I
whole
love it.
world
I
goes
love
on
it.
a 1 month beach vacation. I think everybody would be in a whole lot better mood.
I think you're right. Although I was still jamming till to "I Will Survive." What an awesome song to end the last segment with.
I get all kinds of compliments about the music on the show because it's all over the place, but it's all good, and like that's my musical taste for sure. But it's all compliments to Ashlyn. She's the one that picks all of it, so she gets all.
Well, she does awesome job.
All the credit for sure. So there's some new news that has come out in the AI world in the last 48 hours, and then there's some follow-ups to the conversation that we were having on Monday. Let's start with picking up some of the Monday stuff, because we talked about OpenAI shutting down Sora, their video, their main video AI component, and everybody remembers that when AI videos started to just go crazy, and popping up on YouTube and TikTok, and all the videos of Bigfoot blogging in the woods, and Tupac and Elvis being on stage together, and Donald Trump wrestling Andre the Giant in a WWE ring, all these these wild scenarios. A lot of that, if people remember, and to their credit, there was always that Sora watermark in the corner of the screen, but a lot of that was through Sora. And it was a big product for OpenAI. And so it was kind of surprising, especially for people that aren't as plugged in as you are, like somebody like me from the outside looking in, to hear that they're shutting down that division is like, well, isn't that your biggest, isn't that getting you the most publicity and probably making you the most money? But for a combination of reasons, it seems like, one, the competition was catching up and maybe even getting better. And two, what we have talked about over the last couple of weeks on this show, how a lot of these AI companies are shifting from video production or chat bots to robotics. And OpenAI is taking that money from Sora and redirecting it to robotics. But that also opens a little bit of a hole in the marketplace. So correct any of that if I got anything wrong, setting up where we're at right now, and then take it from here. And what has happened, what's been the reaction in the market and some of these companies' reaction to this, and trying to maybe jump in and fill that void.
Yeah, so you got everything right. Sora definitely cut that They cut an entire division where they had, I don't know, probably hundreds of people working in that division, and they're still a small company, probably 5,000 so people. So,
And
you know,
when you
maybe
say
that's
that,
like
when you say the
10%.
company, you're talking about OpenAI or
Yeah,
the
OpenAI.
Sora
Yeah,
division?
yeah.
Okay, got it.
The Sora division by OpenAI, they cut that completely. It's shutting down. So they're going to have to move those people around. They'll keep them because they're smart people. But this division, after we talked, I found out they were losing, I think, $1 million a month on this because video right now is very computationally inefficient. Like it costs a lot to create a video. And so they realized that we got too many people spending time on it. And the video wasn't up to quality as when it first came out, it was, but now Google's passed them and they're losing money and they're losing focus because everyone else is heading towards physical AI. They're heading towards where they see it going.
One more thing on that, the
Yeah.
video part, because it might sound surprising to people that they're not making money off that, especially when it was so prevalent and like literally seemed to be everywhere several months ago, the Sora videos. But, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as much as you can make off of videos going viral on TikTok or YouTube, it's not usually those short videos. And a lot of those Sora videos that everybody remembers are, you know, they were TikToks or they were YouTube shorts, which are less than 60 seconds long. And those type of videos don't have ads in them. And those are not the kind of videos that can make a lot of money for folks. So was that because of that? And, you know, we've talked about those limitations, especially months ago, how these products couldn't make videos that were longer than a few seconds. You'd have to make multiple videos and stitch them together if you wanted to make something that was more long form. So the fact that they were shorter pieces of content, does that play into why they were not able to generate money?
I think
Or
it's
as
part
much
of the
money?
reason, but I think it's part of the reason, but I don't think it's the biggest part. I think there's two things that were the biggest part. One is focus their attention and their resources where they see the market heading. The market is heading towards physical AI. And that's why these companies are all making their bets. There are other companies going to be spending a lot of money in robotics and artificial intelligence for manufacturing, then down the path down home. So they're looking at like, wow, you know, we can make a lot more money with our existing resources by focusing on physical AI, artificial intelligence. And by the way, do you know that AI stands for artificial intelligence?
That's two letters.
Keep reminding you.
Yeah, it's two letters. Stands for artificial. That was Kamala Harris's. If you don't remember, that's a reference to Kamala Harris explaining AI to the country about a year ago. It's two letters. AI stands for artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I laugh when I think about that still. But
Yeah.
the second reason though, is again, it's resources, but remember we're talking a lot about companies spending billions of dollars on AI infrastructure, computers and hardware and chips, things like that. OpenAI, their biggest constraint right now is compute. They don't have enough computers to provide all of the power to all their customers. And video by far takes the most computing power. So here they have a division losing $1 million a month because not enough people are paying to use it. Yet it's also taking up, I don't know, let's say 30% of their computing power. That's why they shut it down as well. Now they can take all those computers that were generating video and focus them on corporations, on physical AI intelligence. So that's really like the second big reason they did that. Doesn't mean video's a bad market because someone may have stepped in to pick up the slack.
Well, okay, so that before we go to talk about the robotics part of the OpenAI, timeline there, what will happen now? Do you think in the video AI content space now that that one of the major players has moved away? It's got to create opportunity for somebody. And somebody's gonna probably be able to make some money.
There's a little startup called Google
Oh.
that decided to step in. You know, they already have, I'd say, probably like the best.
How you
most
spelling that? How
well-known
many
video
O's in
model.
Google? No, I'm kidding.
Well, if you ask their AI, it's 3, but it's
Yeah,
actually
right.
2. So they just released what they did is OpenAI is like, hey, we can't make money off this. We're shutting this division down. Google came in and said, okay, here's what we're doing. We're going to cut our price by almost 80%. And release this version of it that's like a light preview version, they call it, of their new video engine, which I tried it out. It's just about as good as their top tier program, but at 80% of the cost. And so people now, instead of like spending a lot of money
At
making
80% of the cost or 20% of the cost?
80%. It's 80% lower. So before, let's say that like 1 second of video took, I believe, around 40 cents to it cost you if you pay for their credits, whatever. It now takes about 5 cents.
Wow.
Instead. And so by my math, 35 minus 40 divided by 40 is going to be about 80%.
Take your word for it.
So you get a dramatic, they cut their prices dramatically. And what they're trying to do is like, one, fill that gap because people are still creating videos. They need a place to go do it. And by them having this such a much more discounted version of it, which is almost just as good as everything else, it actually saves them on compute because this new model, Google's just awesome at this stuff. This new model costs them less because it's smarter and faster and doesn't take as much compute. And it's a win-win. Like Google's incredible. They have so many resources. That's why, you and I've been saying this now for like 6 months, maybe a year. Don't count Google out of the AI race because they have so many resources, so many smart people. And what do they do? Like $100 billion a year in profit. They got cash flow out the wazoo. So they came in, filled the gap, and it's probably going to help their video model grow even faster than it was already.
So get ready for that, for the Google takeover when it comes to whatever. And not the first time you've heard those words. When it comes to leading the way with the video content, and have those products, the Google product or others that are out there, gotten better about not just that price cut, but about being able to make more long form content without having to do it one piece at a time, 30 seconds or 60 seconds at a time? Or is that still where we're at? And maybe is that kind of where we're stuck until these bigger power plants and this, more power in the compute that you were just talking about is available?
Yes and no. So they've built their own tools to make it easier to like stitch these things together where you can create an 8-second clip. That's their max right now. However, you can continue from at the end of that 8 seconds. So it's like, okay, we'll start off and we'll use that last frame of that video to start a new one. So it's not true, not truly synchronous all the way throughout, but it's pretty good. So they've kind of like rigged a system to do that. However, I think if we wait another month or so, Google has this pattern of making really big announcements when they have their Google events, and they have one coming up in about a month. And this is where they usually announce all of their AI announcements. I think they're going to announce another AI video tool that's going to be more powerful. And if I were a guessing person, I'd say probably 30 seconds, maybe 45 to 60 seconds will be the max. That is truly me just kind of guessing, looking at the pattern and what they've been doing.
I've noticed that, and here I promise we won't go off the beaten path for very long here, but I saw this, I was introduced to this content over the weekend, and it's really fascinating. It's there's a YouTube channel that has gone super viral and is getting millions of downloads, and it is it's Love Island. It's an AI version of Love Island. It's called like Love Fruit Island, though. Ashlyn's nodding her head yes. And it's basically just a 1-to-1 remake of the TV show Love Island with animated vegetable characters instead of humans, but they like parody, all the things that you see on television, like the cat fights and I can't believe that Cindy tried to take over my date with Manuel, and and it's I don't get it. I don't understand why it's gone so crazy viral with these millions of downloads every episode. But also, when you're watching it, like literally from scene to scene, the same characters don't look exactly the same from scene to scene because it's clearly stitched together. So, Manuel, the cornstalk character, in one scene has, blue eyes and a black jacket. And then in the next scene, he's got brown eyes and hair all of a sudden and is wearing a different shirt, and then back to a different, so you can tell that it's like, you could tell that it's not all made consistently, yet
it's still booming. So good for them.
Even with that.
Yeah.
Even with that.
But you can tell that that's not something that's being made in one, in one long.
And Google
setup.
does have their eye on that. Like another announcement that I foresee them making. And by the way, now that I said the big G word, all my devices are going to start talking just in case you hear them. They're building out a 3D model of yourself that you can map. So you can video or take pictures. It'll create a 3D model of you that you can then replicate in videos and images. And so that, if they have like this reference image, 3D image of you, that's going to help make character consistencies, which what we call that, so much better. And you probably do the exact same thing for other characters in your videos as well, because that's annoying right now. Even some of the most popular Bigfoot vlogs that I love, if I start watching one, I can't stop. They're so funny. But the Bigfoot character even changes.
Yes, for sure. And sometimes kind of dramatically. Like like 1 second they'll have a very like human, animated face, and then 1 second later, it's like more of a gorilla. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's definitely what this thing suffers from. But it is an example of a pure 100% AI content creator channel, whatever you want to call it, that is gotta be making tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Every month.
Every month per episode, because they are getting, tens of millions of downloads on every episode, and of something as stupid as Love Fruit Island. Okay. Back on track here. We got just a couple minutes left with Mike McClary from Intervine, our AI expert here on Colombo and Company. Big headlines out today about Oracle cutting thousands of jobs to spend and focus more on their AI infrastructure. Of course, these are the stories that always get the most attention because, everybody's afraid that the whole world is going to lose their jobs to AI. So this headline is definitely making news today. Can you fill us in on what's going on with Oracle?
Yeah, so we just talked a little bit about this with different companies on Monday, where AI is the new boogeyman. Blame everything on it. So if you're a CEO and you want to announce some job cuts or cost cuts, blame it on AI.
Even if it's not true. There was a story about how that's that's the new scapegoat for, instead of blaming cutbacks or streamlining, just blame AI, even if it's not true.
And never mind the increased bonus for the CEO.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
So, well, Oracle just made an announcement, and they believe it's going to be maybe like as many as 10 to 50,000 jobs after it's all said and done. Geez. Now, Oracle's huge, so I don't know exactly what that means as part of their workforce. So they have a lot, and a lot of these will be jobs they don't plan on filling now that they have open, because there's a lot of openings there. But their reason, and I believe this because Oracle is a tech first company, is they need to spend money to keep up with all the data centers and GPUs and the power they need. And so they are cutting all these jobs and cutting their forecasts as well. And it's just another example of these companies not replacing people with AI bots, AI little agents, replacing them just to reallocate their spend towards infrastructure. So this won't be forever. It'll be for a couple of years. Because this is when we need to spend all the money, invest it, and allocate it in the business cycle. So hopefully once that's done and these infrastructure starts paying for itself, I think we'll see some pretty big growth. Imagine like once all these things are really firing on all cylinders, the power is running, we have more computers and compute than we can think of right now. Then we need people to help kind of manage all that and learn it all and implement it at companies.
So when you say redirecting those funds to building up all of those things, do you like literally using the money to buy land and start building these data centers, or are we talking about building computers? Are we what specifically does that money
yes and yes on? So mostly it's going towards computer resources, not so much land. It's going the chips that run all these data centers are extremely expensive. That's why NVIDIA is now, probably the most valuable company in the world, because their chips are in such demand that it's supply and demand. They're so expensive. And so these chips can cost $50,000 for one. Ooh. And you have companies that are ordering thousands of them, sometimes in case 50,000, 100,000 over a couple of years. I can't even do the math. It's mind-boggling how much you have to spend just on the chips. And then you need computers to put those chips in, or server racks. Then you need a building with all the right cooling equipment and safety equipment and air purification. I think probably the cheapest thing is going to be the land at the end of the day. But it's the equipment that is incredibly expensive right now because there's such a huge demand for it.
And we've managed to run out of time again, Mike. But in the last 2 minutes here, and maybe this sets us up for our first topic on Monday. But the Claude code got leaked. Give us, what? Fill us in real quick on that situation and how exposed and what kind of impact could this have?
Claude Code is the #1 AI programming tool out there right now. It became famous a few years ago, and then over the holidays, it just blew up because it got so good. So when you hear me saying over the past 3 months, the tools have exponentially gotten better, this is the first one that did it. And this is the one that's the most used by programmers and corporations. Well, over the past couple of days, someone internally accidentally left this folder on their computer with all their documentation, all their future upgrades and plans that they haven't even announced yet, left it open to the internet where someone could just go there and download it. And someone did. They downloaded it and shared it with everyone. And so now everyone out there, all their competitors, knows all the secrets that make Claude Code work so well and all of the future upgrades that they have built. They just haven't announced them that, they're getting ready to make big announcements.
Man.
I would hate to be the guy who clicked the wrong share, on that folder on their hard drive there, because it really is the best coding model out there. Our team uses it here.
Yeah.
Quick little 20-second side note.
Yeah.
I have 2 developers that I work with. They have been not against AI, but they haven't fully embraced it. I finally got them to do it last week, and I kind of showed them exactly my steps to doing it. They did, I'm not joking. They did 6 months worth of work in 2 days.
Holy.
And I'm not even making that up. That's how good, and this is one of the tools we use. That's how good these AI coding tools have gotten versus where they were a year ago. So imagine Claude, Anthropic, the company leaking this. They have to be pooping a brick.
Yeah.
Right
So
now.
if all of a sudden Google's products blow up, all of a sudden improve in quality, or Meta or OpenAI or any of them, you just got to wonder, I wonder if that's the Claude stuff that they are taking advantage of. Wow, that's crazy, and it'll be interesting to see the impact it has on that company, and if it slows down their growth and their leadership.
Yeah, they're already small. They're small compared to Google, compared to OpenAI, but they're very niche. Well, that niche advantage may have just been given away.
Dang, man, crazy stuff. Mike McClary from Intervine, our AI expert here on Colombo Company. Really appreciate the overtime on a Wednesday afternoon. And, of course, don't forget about Mike's company, Intervine, local family-owned business that makes the best flashlights, lanterns, and headlamps on the market, and also batteries in all different sizes, AA, AAA batteries. You can get all of those products for 25% off just by going to Intervine.com and using my name, Tony, Tony, as your promo code. Flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, stock up on batteries, all at an unbelievable price, 25% off. Just use Tony as your promo code at Intervine.com. Mike, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you again really soon.
Thanks, guys. Put me in, coach, whenever you need me.
You bet, buddy. Really appreciate it. Speaking of overtime from a Monday guest on a Wednesday, Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments is going to join us. We talked about how the president is going to be making a primetime address to the nation tonight, 8 p.m. our time here in St. Louis. We'll be carrying this address right here on News Talk STL. Want to preview what the president is going to be talking about tonight. We'll fill you in on what the president has already revealed about, the possible topics that he will be discussing tonight, and also want to kind of break down, the possible impacts of some of these announcements with Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. He joins us next.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Free speech is alive and well in America,
right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Jesse is a friend. Yeah, I know he's been a good friend of mine.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn, and on the line with us now is our economic financial expert here on the show, Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. Putting a little overtime in, just like Mike McClary from Intervine, from a Monday to a Wednesday. But lots to cover, so really appreciate your time, Paul. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure, Tony. There's a lot going on, so there's not just
is.
me probably putting in overtime.
Yeah. So we'll be putting in overtime here tonight on News Talk STL. We will be live carrying the president's address. Donald Trump going to be speaking to the nation at 8 p.m. right after Larry Connor's USA. So make sure you're tuned in so you don't miss anything. The president today suggested that Iran may be seeking a ceasefire. But there are, the quote-unquote experts out there, Paul, that say, just because Donald Trump could be in negotiations with one quote-unquote leader in Iran right now, it's such a chaotic mess over there that, one group may not speak for another group. And, there's some concerns about when we're having these negotiations, are we negotiating with the right people? Are we negotiating with the people that truly have influence and power over there? Because it's been a roller coaster when it comes to Iran over the last week or so. We seemed like there was, felt like a week or so ago, they were pretty much defeated, and we were really heading maybe towards that transition into ending this first phase, and then stories of China and Russia getting involved, and the continued problems at the Strait of Hormuz, and various factions over there, still levying military threats against people all over the region, and you just don't really know what to expect. So with all that in mind, as the president goes to speak tonight, how much impact, and obviously when we talk to you, we talk about the markets and the economies and things like that. But as a former lawmaker, as a veteran, I know that you'll be looking at what the president says tonight, through several different lenses, and what kind of immediate impact could we see if he makes an announcement of a ceasefire, or if there's hints, or if it seems like maybe we're in for the long haul militarily, maybe it's going the other direction. what kind of impact could that have, and what kind of kind of those buzzwords or statements are you looking for focusing on tonight?
Well, what I'm going to be focusing on, and I think this is what most investors in the market at large are going to be focusing on, is they're going to be looking for some certainty. So if it's just an update that says, hey, here's what's happened in the last few weeks, and here's some things that could happen in the next few weeks, that's not going to bring a lot of stability to the market because markets run on confidence. That's what drives them up. And when there's no confidence, markets begin to go down. So I think that one of the things that I'm going to be looking for is, what is our position right now with this conflict? Do we actually have an exit strategy and a timeline for that? Second thing I'm going to be looking for is how are we going to leave the Iranian government? And who exactly are we for sure negotiating with? Are we negotiating with the president of Iran, or are we negotiating with elements of the Iranian Guard? Because those two seem to be giving us conflicting information. And then the third thing I'm looking for is what's going to happen in the Straits of Hormuz. Is Oman and Iran going to have a say in this, or is the U.S. going to wind up gatekeeping the whole Straits of Hormuz? The market's really going to be interested in that part in particular. Even if the war continues for the next several weeks or months, the market's wanting to know, what are we going to do with the Straits of Hormuz? Can we have any degree of confidence that those straits are going to remain open so that way oil can move through them and find its way to its target destination right now in a lot of these countries in East Asia?
All I have is a gut feeling. So, this is just what I kind of expect, but it doesn't mean anything. It could be very different. My expectation is this is going to be more of an update. That the president hasn't had, he hasn't done a primetime address, where he's spoke to the whole nation since this war started. And, I think that's kind of the expectation or appropriate thing to do for a president. So I think that I feel like this is just more of a, it's time to officially, make a statement to the whole country about what is happening with this war. While others, like you said, it could be more than that. Could be an announcement. Could be the mission accomplished moment like that George Bush had that backfired big time on Bush. So I hope we don't repeat that mistake. But, it could be that kind of thing. It could be, we're ending Operation Epic Fury and we're moving into the next phase, or maybe a solid timeline, like you mentioned. Maybe he's going to roll out a specific timeline for how things are going to play out over the next couple days. That's all very, very possible. But I'm kind of more expecting just kind of an update. And like what I'm expecting is the opposite of the certainty that you're talking about. As opposed to, the certainty that maybe others are expecting. Do you have a gut feeling on expectations on what is this going to be more of an update, do you think, or do you think we are going to get some solid, specific announcements from the president tonight?
I think President Trump and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio all know that right now the American people would like some type of definitive statement. President Trump has already announced in the last couple of days what he thinks about the war, what he thinks about the timeline. So I would not be surprised at all if we got some degree of certainty, if we got some kind of timeline. Now, timelines are terrible when you're talking about going to war, right? You never want to broadcast your timeline to your opposition. But I do think President Trump is probably going to come down and give us some degree of certainty, because the American people just have so many questions. And any degree of certainty right now would probably be good for the market. And I only say that because yesterday the markets had a strong rally just on the rumors, even though the information was conflicting. The idea that President Trump is saying, hey, we're going to stick to our timeline and try to be ceasing all combat operations, or at least the air war here in the next couple of weeks. The market really responded well to that. Whether or not the NATO aligned allies that we have, whether or not they allow us to use their airspace, that could complicate things. So I'm like you, I kind of am expecting just an update, but I also think that President Trump understands that part of his leadership role is to offer some degree of certainty. And depending on what that is, the markets could continue to respond favorably to that.
Only a couple minutes left here with Paul Curtman as we are previewing the president's address to the nation tonight at 8 p.m., which we'll carry here on News Talk STL. Hypothetical question, and maybe it's hopefully it's one that makes sense. what is more important? What has more impact on the global economy and our markets? This war in general or the Straits of Hormuz? And for example, like if there's an announcement today that, if he talks about, doesn't really lay out a timeline for ending Operation Epic Fury, but does say we've got the strait under control. The United States and our allies have got the strait. We're managing it, and it will be business as usual back at, it doesn't say that the war is ending, but if that's taken care of, like with that, which has more of an influence and an impact on the economy, if unless it's equal? I mean, what do you think?
My opinion, it's the Straits of Hormuz all the way. And I say that because we've been at war in the Middle East for over 20 years. We could do the same thing in Iran, just south of Iraq. I hope we don't, but if we do, it's the Straits of Hormuz, because we've had strong bull runs in the market, even when we've had war in Afghanistan and Iraq going on concurrently, or consecutive, going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So as long as those straits can get open and remain open, I think that that's going to be a positive news for the market. And I think that that's exactly what the global economy is really looking towards, making sure that 20 to 30% of the U.S. oil that's moving through those straits can continue to move through the straits.
Yeah, I would love to hear some positive news about the Strait of Hormuz today from the president, but we'll see how it all plays out. Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments, thanks so much for a little overtime this week. Really appreciate it, my friend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Great stuff there from Paul Curtman. Again, president speaking tonight at 8 p.m., and we'll be carrying it live right here on News Talk STL. All right, Wednesday afternoon, almost 3 o'clock. Time to open up Klose's Kabinet. Next.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The New York Times reports House and Senate Republicans have agreed to advance a bipartisan plan to fund the Homeland Security Department, which has been closed for more than 6 weeks. Under the plan, which the House rejected last week, a regular spending bill will fund the bulk of the department, and Republicans will seek to fund President Trump's immigration crackdown through a separate process aimed at skirting a Democrat filibuster. President Trump made history today when he sat in on arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court as it took up a challenge to his policy ending birthright citizenship.
President Trump showed up right as the oral arguments were beginning, and he sat in the front row of the public seating, which made it hard for the press to be able to view him. But we did see that he was flanked by his cabinet members, Attorney General Pam Bondi, as well as Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. And he sat down, and we spotted him scoping out the crowd a bit. Otherwise, we didn't see him really talking to anyone.
As correspondent Fatima Hussein, the president says he does see an end to the U.S. war effort against Iran.
But as for reopening the Strait of Hormuz, through which some 20% of the world's oil passes...
That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up.
The White House says the president will address the nation on the war Wednesday night. Ben Thomas, Washington.
And the president is scheduled to deliver an address tonight. White House correspondent Greg Clugston will anchor the president's address on many of these same stations. Hope building that the war could end soon, and that's helping oil prices to retreat. And as a result, less pressure on stocks. They rose today. The closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up by 256 points. The Nasdaq up by 250. More on these stories at townhall.com. livestream.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Still a chance for a few storms this evening. We'll dry things out overnight for the morning drive with a low 59 degrees. Then in the afternoon Thursday, it's a First Alert weather day, afternoon to evening hours. A few pop-up storms. Not everyone gets hit with a storm, but if the clouds clear out, we get enough storm fuel, hail, strong winds, even an isolated tornado, not out of the question. We're in the lowest level 1, severe risk, but still want to stay alert. High of 78 degrees otherwise Thursday. Friday, mainly dry, 82 for the high, and then storms return Friday night into Saturday with some heavy rain. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddy's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at serenitywealthbiz.com. That's serenitywealthbiz.com.
Fox News commentary with Greg Gutfeld, next.
Need life insurance but have diabetes, high blood pressure, or on anxiety meds? If you're a 50-year-old male, even porky, or with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of life insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. For affordable term life insurance, call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013, 800-444-2013, or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. 800-444-2013.
Feld on the anti-Trump No Kings rallies.
This is group therapy designed as public theater. And what does it accomplish? It doesn't accomplish anything because, like the very worst self-help, it's self-indulgent. If you were to observe it, you don't come out of it as an outsider and think, wow, that made my day better. I am persuaded. I look at, this is the actual opposite of persuasive. You see this and you go, I don't want to be part of that. The Free Britney movement was more inspirational than this. But it's like it's not about being inspirational. It is about being seen. And that has always been a thing that you hear. I want to be seen. And so more and more of this movement is about your identity, what you decide to be, and it's an expression of self, a tantrum about me. And it was well-funded.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Little Guns N' Roses there to open up Klose's Kabinet this week on Colombo and Company. Klose's Kabinet brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Our buddy Skip Weber not able to join us this week, but on the line is the star of Klose's Kabinet, Mark Klose from KC95. Marker, the Guns N' Roses is not just a coincidence. There's a story attached to it, but first, I must say hello. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you very much, and I'm always intrigued when Axl and company have a story coming out, especially with their connection to St. Louis.
Oh, yeah. It's all of those bad they're coming to Busch Stadium.
Right.
Do people even remember that anymore? Do you think there are still bad feelings between folks in St. Louis and Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses, or is that all water under the bridge at this point?
Well, it's interesting. It happened in '91.
Yeah, wasn't it the first concert? Yeah, go ahead.
It was one of the first concerts out at Hollywood, then Riverport.
Riverport, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so it was one of the very early concerts, and then it hit, and Axl ended up paying over $1 million in lawsuits and stuff. I don't know if it went to the promoters or whatever it was. And then I think there was an album that came out, and there was some, on the inside of the album it said, St. Louis can F themselves or something, which was very nice. And then, remember a couple of years ago, they were booked to come in again. Was that Busch Stadium, or was going to be a show, and they canceled?
Yeah.
Because supposedly the illness.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not sure where they're at this point. I don't know where ticket sales are at as far as the stadium goes, but I mean, most stadium shows you can put 48,000 people in, because you got the field and all that. And I have not seen an update on ticket sales, so I don't know how it's going. So, yeah, whether people still remember it or not, that was a long time ago.
And just to highlight how different the world is now, that the riot that started because Axl Rose jumped into the crowd to attack a fan at Riverport Amphitheater was because that fan was taking pictures.
Yes.
And I mean, like that in 1991, that was such a crime and such a no-no that it triggered one of the most. And it's hard to really even if you weren't alive at the time or into the music scene at the time. It's hard to describe just how big Guns N' Roses was in the late 80s and early 90s. They were the biggest.
God, yeah, they were
the biggest band on the planet. They were the biggest band on the planet.
Largest debut albums of all time. I mean, so they.
For a few years there, they were the biggest band on the planet. Yep. I think. Yep. And so for a person at that, that magnitude to be so mad at somebody that they jump in the crowd. And now Axl's always been a little bit of a loose cannon, certainly.
Yeah,
but
more than a little bit.
But still, can you imagine? Now if you go to a concert, there's more people taking pictures or taking video than there are actually watching the show.
Oh, no. And there's artists now. There's artists that are saying, hey, put your phone down.
Yeah.
And not because we don't care if you take a picture, but enjoy the moment. You're here for a concert. Get into it instead of filming it. Get into it and have a good time. Whether you want to do that or not, is anybody's guess. So one funny story, too, is I think it was later that season the damn Yankees came to play, Ted Nugent and those stuff. And they talked about that event, and they said something to the effect of we really like pictures, and they came to the front of the stage and would pose. So they were posing for pictures.
So trolling Axl, yeah.
Just to stick it to GNR. So
well, he was, and they were, not only like you mentioned, they canceled that one show, but that was, that was not too long ago after most of this had died down. But for several years there, they were banned from St. Louis. They didn't want anything to do with. They didn't want anything to do with us. Like you said, they put in the liner notes and things like that, but we also didn't want anything to do with them. It was a real rivalry there for a while.
They tore that place up, man. They tore it up
did.
pretty good.
Yeah, they sure did. But yeah, that's a little piece of music history, but is not why we started Close's Cabinet with Guns N' Roses today. That is because Guns N' Roses memorabilia is part of a big auction that is about to happen. This organization called Prop Store, one of the world's leading entertainment memorabilia auction houses, has announced its next major live music auction taking place in the UK on April 30th, so this month, at the end of the month. Bidding will be available to collectors worldwide. The event will feature over 400 lots of rare and sought-after music memorabilia from some of the world's most celebrated artists, a combined estimated value of over $2 million worth of stuff, and a lot of this stuff is available for auction, available to the public for the first time ever. So some really cool memorabilia will be available for collectors for the first time, and some of the highlights include items from Guns N' Roses, from Queen, from John Lennon. So I'll give you a couple of them here, and I want to know if any of these would be something that you would covet in any large way. Highlights include leading the sale is Slash's, speaking of Guns N' Roses, photo-matched, stage-used, and autographed Gibson Les Paul 59 custom shop guitar played during Guns N' Roses' Not in This Lifetime tour, the first reunion tour featuring Axl Rose, Slash, and Duff since 1993. Stage-played guitars from Slash rarely appear at auction, particularly examples used on tour with Guns N' Roses. The guitar is offered with a pre-sale estimate of between $150,000 and $300,000. Stage-used, autographed Slash custom guitar. Pretty cool. I don't know that I would pay $300,000 for literally anything, Mark, but pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking if this is an actual 59 Les Paul.
It is.
It might.
According to these guys, it is. Yeah.
It might be worth that much whether it was played by Slash or not.
Wow.
Those Les Pauls, some of the early Les Pauls, just get ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, it's like it's the holy grail of guitars for a lot of people. And you ask me, it's funny because they'll end up a lot of this stuff, whether it's like Ringo's original drum kit or a bass guitar from so-and-so, people buy it and then hang it on the wall or put it like at a Hard Rock or something like that. I'm kind of a believer, too, that if you got a cool instrument, you buy it, you play it. It's meant to be played. Now, I get it if it's historic or whatever, but that, you know what, and maybe it's my age at this point, all that I look at, it's just more clutter in my house that I got to dust. I don't want to mess with it. It's like, I got all this stuff. I think the only memorabilia I have is I've got an autographed Stan Musial baseball, and it's there, and it takes up a little bit of space on a shelf. But I've never been a real big kind of collector guy.
Yeah.
But I know the people, especially like the guitars. A real big group are the Japanese. Japanese will come. The Japanese people will come from Japan and bid on these guitars and never play them, but they're strictly, a collectible item.
Yeah.
So I'll bet you'll see a couple, and I'm sure on a lot of this stuff, they keep the names anonymous or anonymous bidders. But I bet you if you're able to trace it back, it'd be a lot of Japanese people that are making bids on it.
I'm kind of the same way as you. I'm not a big collector of very many things, and if I am, if it was something that I was able to get, if I met somebody, or was able to attend, and be at an event or be around a and get, a picture or an autograph or whatever it may be, like that personal connection makes it something that I want to collect and have value in. But just buying it, it's not as powerful to me. But I'll tell you what, again, I I certainly wouldn't be upset at getting Slash's guitar, but I don't know that I could pay that much money for it. But if I had money to spend, if I had Mark Klose money, maybe I would.
Yeah, a lot of these people that are buying the stuff got plenty of coin.
Yeah.
It's not like they're selling their used Pinto to go out and buy a Les Paul guitar. They got plenty of money.
So a couple more quick ones here. Also featured is George Michael's photo-matched jacket worn in the music video for his 1987 hit Faith and during live performances on the accompanying tour. And just in case people are wondering what photo-matched means, because that was the part of the Slash one too, that means that these items come with photographs of the person wearing it or playing it as part of the provenance, as part of the proof that this is authentic. Yes, it's part of the authentication. Exactly. Right. So this is the jacket. I mean, anybody that remembers that song or that music video, everybody remembers that leather jacket that George Michael wore in the Faith music video, and according to this, at least, also on stage multiple times during the tour that followed. The jacket starting with a pre-sale estimate of between $60,000 and $120,000. And one more, Mark, I wanted to highlight. The press release says among the most significant lots is an autographed large format promotional poster. Now, I bet of all the things that are in here, this one may grab your attention and maybe pull at the heartstrings more than any of them. Autographed large format promotional poster for John Lennon and Yoko Ono's Double Fantasy, signed, autographed on the morning of December 8th, 1980, just hours before John Lennon was killed. This is considered to be the last item ever autographed by John Lennon on the day he was murdered. And this poster is also, just like the jacket, the pre-sale estimate is between $60,000 and $120,000. Now that is a pretty amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. And again,
too bad Yoko's on it. Sorry, maybe that's inappropriate, but
somehow they have to be able to authenticate it too. That they know that it was signed that day, and I guess maybe there was somebody there to witness that. That could be a little strange, but yeah. No,
so it says thought to be the last item ever autographed. This is the first time the poster has been offered at auction, and accompanying. So you get this too. An accompanying audio recording captures Lennon discussing the signing and retracing his signature in black felt tip pen after the ballpoint ink failed to set. So apparently there's an actual recording of him signing this. Now it's not a video, but an audio of him signing it and then saying like, "Oh, give me that marker. The pen, the pen didn't work on the poster. Give me a marker so I can re-sign it." As again part of because that's a great point, as a part of the proof that this is that it's authentically what it says it is, this last item that he ever signed. Pretty awesome. Yeah. Pretty awesome, I think.
It's cool stuff. Like I said, the only thing I like to collect are dollar bills. The more I get, the happier I am. So,
well, that one though, that's probably an investment. That might make you some dollar bills down the line. So I could see that for sure. Talking to Mark Klose, KC95. It's Klose's Kabinet here on Colombo and Company, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Skip Weber unable to be with us this week, but hope to catch back up with Skip next week. Mark, one of the things that we've talked about in recent weeks on this segment was the resurgence of records, vinyls, and how people are buying them again. That industry has seen a major resurgence over the last couple of years. Now there's another one. Cassettes are having their moment.
I'd read this.
Cassettes are becoming so trendy again that the electronics company Maxell is bringing back its classic personal tape player. You remember the Maxwell Blown Away commercial with the guy sitting in the chair in front of the speaker?
The hair going back.
Yeah. That's this company. They're bringing back their classic personal tape player. They've added modern features like Bluetooth and USB-C charging. Still has the headphone jack like the old one did. 11 hours of Bluetooth playtime. Comes with a belt clip, just like the old one did when we used to clip big giant cassette players to our pants.
Walkmans and all that.
So that's pretty amazing. Cassettes, cassettes were like my generation as a kid. I was a little bit behind. Now we had records, we had a record player, we had records, of course, and we had 8-tracks, an 8-track player and all of that. But when I started like personally buying music, cassettes were the thing. And then shortly after that, obviously CDs. So this is right in my wheelhouse. I understand vinyl records because there's just something cool, like, the other stuff we're talking about here, like records are also like collectible items, and they're a cool showpiece as well as being, the music, being able to play the music and things like that. So I get the vinyl resurgence. I'm a little surprised that cassettes are making a big comeback because they're not as collectible or cool to look at, and they certainly don't. They're certainly not like the best sound or easiest way to listen to music. What do you think this is just nostalgia maybe driving this?
Well, I'm sure that's got something to do with it. And then you think back too. Remember, it was the mixtape. If you had that special girl or guy, you'd make a mixtape for him. Our songs, man. We'd put ours, and then if you had the setup, you could put in your voice and go, baby, this song's for you. When we met at Chuckerburger back in 1975, and then put it in. You had that special mixtape. So and then
I put my soul into some mixtapes back in the day.
Hell yeah.
My whole soul into some of them.
Didn't have to worry about them skipping.
Right.
You started and you put your finger in and turn the spool to get it past the leader tape in the beginning. And so I guess, for convenience, you'd slide them into your car, and, before CDs came around, the only thing is that they even had some that early on or later on in cars where you could hit it and it would speed forward and go to the blank spot and then stop and then start the next song.
Holy.
They were all mushed together. You'd start one side, you had to listen all the way through, because one song after another, which was great about CDs. You could hit that replay and play your favorite song like 28 times.
Oh, yeah. Go right to track 11. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah. Just keep playing it, man. Track 11, endless track.
And there's nothing like, there's a very specific memory for people that were, into the cassettes when the cassette when it would all come unraveled inside the player.
Oh, sure. It comes spinning out.
And you just got like this bird's nest mess.
Yep.
And if it's like valuable to you, if it's like this new album that you just bought, then you're panicking and trying to find a pencil to slowly write.
Absolutely.
This is so these so much of a resurgence for cassettes that Maxwell's bringing back the personal tape player, and it's also $100. The list price is $100. According to this, you can find them on Amazon on sale for like $80. But I'm already kind of questioning the the comeback of cassettes. I definitely am not paying $100 for a cassette player. But pretty crazy. And somebody must be buying them.
Oh yeah. But for a fact that there is a warehouse somewhere, probably more than one, that has 10 million cassettes in it. The same with 10 million 8-tracks. They didn't just take them and burn them up. They haven't sold them in a million years, but they're sitting there somewhere. That towards the very end they're producing these big cassettes of these major artists, and then the medium just fell off. So somewhere's a warehouse, and it might be true of some of the players. Little Sony Walkmans, those are the big thing, man. You put in that cassette, put your headphones on, clip it on your belt, and go for a walk, brother. I guarantee you there's a warehouse with 1 million Walkmans sitting in it, and they'll probably bring them back and sell them on the nostalgia thing, like you said, and make good money at it. So.
Oh, yeah. One more here, Mark, before we run out of time. Talking to Mark Klose, KC95, Klose's Kabinet on Colombo and Company. I lied earlier. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned it being April Fool's Day and how much I hate April Fool's Day, and I said I wasn't going to talk about it anymore, but I am going to talk about it again here for just a second, so sorry, I was lying. April Fools. Did you know that there are rules, apparently, for April Fool's Day? First of all, what do you think of April Fool's Day? I really... Now, that doesn't mean that there hasn't been... There's just a few... like 99.9% of the April Fool's pranks, I think, are pretty dumb. There have been a couple of good ones. Like I'm not gonna say that there's never been something cool done as an April Fool's joke, but or prank. For the most part, I hate April Fool's Day. What do you think? Where do you stand on the holiday in general?
I don't know. I think it's kind of silly and stuff. I will tell you that most radio groups and corporations, you get an email saying, don't do it. We don't want it. No April Fool's jokes. If you do it, you will be fired. Because some of them have come back and bit them in the ass down the road. They reduced them because again, it's all the government, FCC, Federal Communications Commission. You're run by the government, and they don't take too kindly to that kind of stuff.
No.
We all know people. That did
it was a prank.
Outside.
It's just a prank, bro. Is not a legal defense.
No, and even outside of April 1st, what you say and what you do, and I'm with you on that kind of stuff. It never, people say April Fools, like you know what? I saw it somewhere, but until you brought it up, I didn't even think twice about today being April Fool's. Didn't even enter my conscience at all. So.
It is, so beware.
Yeah.
But maybe not, because apparently, again, the internet, whoever the internet are, the people that run the internet, they say that there are unofficial rules for April Fool's Day and the pranks. First of all, also the internet says, according to the internet, 46% of people say that April Fool's Day pranks are fun and they like them. 46%.
Okay.
40% of people don't like April Fools, and the remaining 14% say it's case by case. So if it's a good one, they like it. If it's a bad one, they don't. So, so kind of a little bit of a majority there for the people that actually like April Fool's Day over the people that don't like them. However, there are rules apparently to today. Number one, the noon deadline. This has been a guideline for a while, but doesn't always get mentioned. The fooling stops at noon, and any pranks must be revealed by then.
I never heard that.
I never heard that before either.
New.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't really make any sense, but apparently that's one of the rules. Rule number 2, do not harm. That's a good one. April Fool's pranks are meant to make people look foolish or inconvenienced, not to cause genuine distress or to be destructive.
Right.
I like that. Number 3.
That's common sense.
Yes. Number 3, you must always reveal the prank. A successful prank should be followed by the reveal. This marks the end and clarifies that the situation was a joke. I think these rules are a joke.
I know, but it's the internet, so it's got to be true. So,
And number 4, no illegal activities, kind of what you just said, which also, that's not an April Fool's Day rule. That's an everyday rule.
That's an everyday rule unless you want to go on a slammer. So, figure it out.
Exactly. Marker, we've gone long here. We got to wrap things up. Got a real quick thanks, Weber Chevrolet. Our buddy Skip Weber, unable to be with us this week, but hopefully he's back with us next week. And, of course, Weber Chevrolet, 3 dealerships around town. Nobody's going to give you a better price on a new vehicle. Nobody's going to give you more on your trade-in, and nobody's going to take care of you in that vehicle better than the team at Weber Chevrolet. So if you're looking for a new vehicle, check out what's happening at all Weber dealerships at weberchevrolet.com. And Mark, for you, what's happening with the band, with Keishi? What do we need to promote real quick?
Well, the band, we got our gig coming up with Learn's Band on Saturday night at the Miners in Collinsville. Sold out. Thank you very, very much for selling it out.
Oh.
Got a big crowd, and Johnny Bongo Hewlett's going to be there, and Sweetmeat's going to be there. And
yes.
We got if you're coming over and you want to buy one of the T-shirts, Learn has T-shirts, so do we. The only thing we ask is bring cash because we can't figure out Venmo. I thought Venmo was on the other side of Pacific, Missouri. I don't know what that is, but we need cash, baby. We talk cash. $15 a shirt. Bring it out. We're all good. It's just going to be a big party. We're so excited, and thank you to everybody that bought tickets. You people are absolutely the best. And then after that, man, it opens us up, and we got like 43, 44 gigs on the books for Close Quarters. So we're going to be out and about all over the place this spring and summer. You can follow us at Close Quarters 2Ks on Facebook, and we'll have our schedule there and where we're going to be. And looking forward to getting out, doing the outdoor gigs, and having some fun.
Heck yeah, it's a party. I can't recommend the band enough. Closest Quarters on Facebook. Yeah, get out there and check out our show. You'll have a great time. Mark Klose, KC95. Thank you, buddy. Great to talk with you as always. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, buddy. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
You bet. All right, that is Mark Klose as we wrap up Klose's Kabinet here on Colombo and Company. Before we hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show this afternoon, want to remind you the president is addressing the nation tonight, a primetime address, 8 p.m. our time here in St. Louis, carried live right here on News Talk STL. I want to preview that a little bit more and talk about that when we get back on Colombo and Company next.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL, live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
What do you think of a friend always coming around asking for help, for money, and being a friend? You help, but when you ask for help of any kind, that friend disappears. That's what we have on the world stage. President Trump trying to open the Strait of Hormuz, safe for ships to pass. Several NATO nations rely on that waterway, but our NATO allies are not helping. And in fact, they are hurting our efforts. The UK refuses to send any warships to the region. Spain, France, Italy, denying U.S. planes access to refueling stops on their land. Well, Trump is jabbing back, saying when your country suddenly find fuel prices skyrocketing because you're not helping us, you go get your own oil from the Strait of Hormuz. We have plenty. Secretary of State Rubio added to that, what good is NATO? What good is NATO if we help others, but then they turn their backs on us? Legitimate question. It also shows that old saying is true. Bad friends are like shadows, with you on the sunny days, but at night, they disappear.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
When I have business clients or guests from out of town, I often take them to Cafe Napoli. I know they're going to enjoy any of the Napoli locations. Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, next to Napoli C, Napoli Kirkwood, or Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Excellent food and intellectual conversation, if they bring the intellectual conversation. And NapoliSTL.com, NapoliSTL.com.
Hey folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen love the team so much, I became a member. So now I'm an agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, and I can tell you as a matter of fact that we're going to get you into a home really super easily and with the lowest cost you're ever going to find, and make sure we find you that dream home. We're also going to list your home and get the top dollar for your home. I'm telling you, Rodney and Jen love this business. You can tell it is infectious, and I'm so happy to be a real estate agent there with them. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD. Whether you are buying your home or selling your home, I'm telling you what, the costs are going to be absolutely totally minimal, but the professionalism and getting the job done for you is going to be 100%. The Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD.
Dozens of out-of-state law firms are crashing into St. Louis trying to get your business. My advice, rely on a hometown firm. Under Law has been here for years. Their lawyers raising their families right alongside yours. And when you're injured by someone's careless actions, you are entitled to full compensation. You want lawyers who will not bend to big insurance, but will stand defiantly protecting you. Under Law, O-N-D-E-R, underlaw.com. Under wins.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story when Marines have one of the bloodiest battles of World War II, Okinawa.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Great stuff with Mark Klose from KC95 and that. Last segment, Klose's Kabinet. If you missed that or you missed anything in the 2 o'clock hour, great conversations with Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments and Mike McClary from Intervine, our AI expert here on the show. Make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. It's the best way to make sure you never miss anything that happens here on Colombo and Company, because we put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day, and we put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts on that platform, just make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Company, and you'll never miss any of this great, great stuff. All right, just got a few minutes left here before we hand it off to the O'Reilly Report and then the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim and Chris will keep you up to speed throughout the rest of the afternoon as we continue to monitor, what's happening with the Supreme Court and the birthright citizenship debate. As I mentioned in the 2 o'clock hour, from the transcripts and questions and statements made in court earlier today that we have seen to this point, seems like it's going to be a very uphill battle for the Trump administration to try to change the way that birthright citizenship has been interpreted over, the last 100 years. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. The president actually appeared sat in the front row of the Supreme Court today. First time an American president has done that in a major Supreme Court case. So shows you just how focused and how important this issue is to the president. Also, the president tonight is going to be addressing the nation in prime time. Again, that is going to be at 8 p.m. our time, and we are going to carry it live right here on News Talk STL. So immediately following Larry Connors USA, keep it right here on News Talk STL, and we will carry the entire address that the president has tonight. We previewed a lot of this with Paul in the last hour, so again, go check out that conversation on the podcast. But as we mentioned earlier today, as we're trying to sort of preview and make some predictions and discuss what the president could be talking about tonight or any announcements he could be making, the president earlier today suggested that Iran may be seeking a ceasefire. But there are a lot of experts that say the real power lies with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, not necessarily the president. of Iran. So it depends on who. And actually, that exact point was pointed out by Paul earlier this afternoon. Trump did not name the Iranian figure that he was referring to, so maybe it wasn't the president, but that is what most people assume when the president's talking about his negotiations, that it is with the Iranian president, Mahmoud Pezeshkian, which is, I think I got that right, believe it or not, writing, quote, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized and far more intelligent than his predecessors, has just asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. This is in a statement earlier today. But again, if that's with the president and that president is not in communication or on the same page as the leaders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran, then the strength of a possible ceasefire could be in question. Hopefully we get a lot more details. We get some of these questions answered by the president this evening. Again, 8 p.m. here on News Talk STL. We'll be carrying the president's address to the nation live right here. So keep it here for that, and keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next. Then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show, Colombo and Company, back tomorrow on News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Feel like your energy isn't what it used to be? Brain fog, fatigue, and stubborn weight aren't just aging, they're signals. This week, we're talking about how to